Sending me emails.
Don't delete them.
All right, here we go. So, the draft of the Declaration of Independence, and you catch the date, is just, what, 4 days before the United States declared independence, 6 days before the document was ready. Jefferson wrote it. Before we get to anything else about the document, it's a draft. Who's he going to show it to? Adams. Who else? Remember, there are 5 people who were supposed to write it, even though Jefferson did the writing, and then they went through and edited it. Yeah. Franklin. Do you remember the other 2? Good guess, but no, Hancock. Hancock was the president of the Congress, and he wasn't the one writing it. Right? Sherman and Livingston. Adams and Franklin are the best known ones. So, and you notice they obviously, it's a draft. So they said, no, and cross this out. What is the purpose of this thing? What is Jefferson saying? First off, before we get to that, who's he? He had, actually,
King George.
That's how he wrote it. They changed it for you to understand, but it's half. He hath waged a cruel war. It's king. And what are they blaming the king for?
Slavery.
Slavery. They're blaming the king for slavery.
Really? They're pinning that on him?
That's what this says right here. They blame the king for slavery. In fact, it's one of the more remarkable documents in history. Remember, Jefferson is a what?
Slave.
So he's a slave owner. He has over 200 slaves. Yeah, but it's wonderful. I love what he does. So he hath waged a cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, or to occur miserable death in their transportation hither. So what is the king doing? What did the king do? What did the king do? According to Jefferson, what did the king do? And so he went to Africa. The king captured the slaves and then took them to America.
No, it's not much power. I don't know why they're thinking it's a good idea to oppose him. It's like, he did this all by himself.
The king is a busy man. In fact, he did a lot of this before he was even alive. That should tell you everything you need to know about the king. You're right. We don't want to mess with this king. It's pre-wound. He did it before his parents were alive. That gives you an idea of the determination to make the colonists have slaves. He made them have slaves. Now look to the 3rd line. At the end. At the end of, the 4th line. He hath prostituted. By the way, prostituted means essentially sold in this context. Kind of an archaic way of saying it. He has prostituted his negative for suppressing every legislative attempt to prohibit or restrain this execrable commerce. First off, what does execrable mean? Do you know what excrement is? Thank you for saying the word. Boy, you prove you know words.
I do know.
Yeah, boy. But, yeah. He's saying, so he's trying to get the worst possible thing possible. This goal is not two possibles. By the way, who's a slaveholder again? Okay. But he also says, did you catch that? His negative for suppressing every legislative attempt to prohibit or restrain. So he's implying that the colonists were trying to do what about slavery? The colonists didn't want slaves, but the king made them have slaves. They didn't want slaves, but you must have slaves. Poor Jefferson. I mean, he's got to live in this big mansion. He's got to have imported wine from all over the world. The biggest library in all the colonies who become the basis of the Library of Congress. Jefferson didn't want that. But the king made him. God, I almost feel sorry for him. So when he's saying about, he's not really talking about the liberty of the slaves. He's saying that the king has taken away the liberty of the slaveholders by making them half slaves. I just want you to ponder that for a second. By the way, doesn't that take a lot of gall? That takes a lot of gall for Jefferson to say that.
What did they smoke back then?
I know you copied what Andrew said. But
He was asking if he was drunk.
here's the thing. He's trying to blame the king for everything. And by the way, what does that tell you about slavery? What does that tell you about what Jefferson thinks slavery might do to this country when it's created?
Save it.
Say this.
Tear it apart.
Huh? Tear it apart. Jefferson is thinking this is going to tear us all apart. He's implying that slavery is what?
Even.
Immoral, it's evil, it's awful. It's evil. Now let's get to the next part. Okay, the middle of, right after determined to keep an open a market where men should be bought and sold, and that this assemblage of whores might want no fact of distinguished dye. I'm not really sure what that means either. He is now exciting those very people to rise in arms among us and to purchase that liberty of which he had deprived them by murdering the people upon whom he also obtruded them. Yowzer. That's a comment. By the way, use yowzer at home. He's saying now, so the king captured the slaves, brought the slaves over, forced the colonists to have slaves, and then turned around and he's saying now the king is trying to get the slaves to do what? Rebel, which is the most horrifying thing that slave owners could have. So now the king is going to have slave rebellion.
So it sounds very contradictory.
Oh yeah, it's very contradictory. Basically what it's saying is this. The king wants slave rebellions, and you're blaming the king for slave rebellions. But he goes through a very long, elaborate way of saying, the king made us as slaves, and now a slave rebellion. By the way, what a diabolical evil man. I mean, think about this for a second. The king, before the king was ever even born, came up with a plan, a conspiracy, to kidnap people in Africa, bring them to this new colonies that are just being created, force the colonists to have slaves, just waiting for the right moment then to have those slaves rebel and kill them. That's genius.
They'd never see it coming.
You never see a good one. I like that one. But you get the point? Who looked at this and said, no, we can't have this in the Declaration of Independence and crossed it out? Adams and Franklin said, are you crazy? If we have this in the Declaration of Independence, who will never join the patriotic cause? Anybody. Specifically, what people? Who? Yeah, the South is already worried about this, about the talk of revolution. And now you're going to say that slavery is immoral? They're already worried, and then that whole all men created equal bugged them, and that's coming a little bit later. You haven't read it yet. But they said this will divide it all up before we ever get started. We can't have this. They did blame the king for slave rebellions, but they didn't want to blame the king for slavery. It's an incredible document. And it shows you everything you need to know about Thomas Jefferson. And Andrew, you're right. He's a sole series of contradictions. In fact, Jefferson is the quintessential American. He really is. I mean, here's a slaveholder who loves liberty. Wow. I mean, it's just so many contradictions. The good and bad of the country wrapped up in Thomas Jefferson. But I just love that. Like, I didn't want my fine wine, but he made me. So, they crossed that out. We'll read a document. Now, we went through it. I think most of you got the slavery part. I know it's kind of hard to read writing. It's the style he was trying to write and some of the words. Which, don't you love piratical? Which means a pirate, what a pirate could do.
Yar, yar.
Thank you. Matey, you forgot Matey.
We missed National Streets like a pirate.
I didn't.
I celebrated every day. And so, when you read a document like this, and we went through it, we went through a bunch of stuff right there. You do, and you didn't really think about it, but you go through all these kind of things that'll help you understand the document. You know what's going on, the context, who he's speaking to, what kind of person Jefferson was, and also the purpose of it. No way. That forms a handy acronym. Do you remember the acronym? What is it? HAPP. Yes. Okay, we read a document. I actually don't. Acronyms bug me sometimes, but it's also an easy way to try to, to say what we need to do for a document. Every time we read a document, after we read the title and the author, we have to start thinking in context of, or in terms of, historical context, audience, purpose, or point of view. Thus the term HAPP. We are going to have to read a lot of documents. I don't know how they're going to do short answers this year. I'm not sure. We'll talk about short answer questions a little bit later when I find out because they're changing the test. But DBQs are going to be exactly the same. A DBQ is a document-based question. It is an essay question where you have to use 6 documents to reinforce your answer. And the documents are all going to be about the size of the one we just read. Now, I think reading documents is important. There's a lot of different methods to do this, but we also want to do methods that will also help you with the AP exam. And last year in my class, they gave me a little bit of information how students did. The AP US History did very well in DBQ, and it's 25% of that test, one question. And they did really well last year, really well. They might make one minor change, but they're not changing the documents and how they read that. So we're going to do the same thing I did last year. It seemed to work really well. I know, I have no idea what the question will be. We'll see. Let's hope we get another question like last year. That was a great one. But for every document, you have to be able to do one of these 4 things. Show historical content, audience, purpose, or point of view. I gave this to you so you have this down, and I'll just mention it. You got to be thinking about that. Every document. And if you look down at the very bottom, I have sum up. So everyone look down there. The 4th one down. The format you're thinking of when you read a document is, it makes sense that blank. So Jefferson holds this position because of something for the document. His purpose, his point of view, who he's speaking to, or what's going on around at that time. That's what we want to answer for every document. Blank believes this because of this. So, let's look at historical context first for this document. Historical context, which to me, I think is the most important thing. It's the most important skill. It's basically what is going on around the world in the United States when this happened. In fact, what we want to do is get as many things down as we can that's going on that will try to justify why Jefferson wrote this. And these are all the things that led up to the Declaration of Independence before and after. This is called brainstorming, or another term I've heard more and more, a memory dump. Now, for this, it should be really easy for us to do. Now, when you get a question out of the blue, it'll help you remember stuff. Brainstorming really works, and we'll do this all the time. So, let's do this right now. Think about stuff that was going on that June 28, 1776. Not on that date. I mean, all the stuff that's going on around that would lead to Jefferson writing this. So, I want everyone to think about it, and then underneath the document right here, jot down 2 things. Just 2 words. You don't have to explain what it is, just 2 things that are going on. This should be really fresh in your mind because we just had a test over this. So think about 2 things. Think of 2 things. And it doesn't have to be in that same year. I mean, it could be many years before that led up to this. So we know a lot of things. Come up with 2. You do not need to explain them. Just the Emancipation Proclamation. Okay. Super Bowl 4. Probably not.
Manifest Destiny.
couple things going on. Just everybody quick, jot down 2 things. That's good. I'm just going around asking you. It doesn't have to be particularly Jefferson. I mean, all these things that led up to it, all the stuff going on. And we got a couple? Are we good? I'm like just barely able to walk. Mondays. Mondays are so awesome. Sometimes I forget how to walk. All right. What do we have? Who has one they want to? Just give me one of yours. Somebody. I'll look around. Okay, go ahead.
Proclamation of Sentences.
Great one. Proclamation. The slaveholders worried about that. Spreading land. That's another good one. Yeah, go ahead. Boston Massacre, 1770. Very good one. Jay. Yeah. Richard Lee had just asked for independence. Good one. Any others? Yeah, go ahead. Imperialism, the whole Christian empire, and that's it's a fact, but it affects everything that they do. Is there another one? Yeah, go ahead.
Navigation Acts.
Very good. All those acts of navigation, or those acts of navigation. Boy, that's repeating it, but those taxes, they kept trying to enforce those taxes. Any others? Yeah, go ahead. What? Yeah, the war. We have a war going on.
I was gonna say the words before that went up to it too.
So what's the biggest one?
I'd say it's the 7 Years' War.
Yeah, 70 years of French Indian War. Very good. Is there another one? Oh, do we have any others? Yeah.
Thomas Paine was circulated because common sense.
That's a great one. And talk about that common sense idea, pushing for independence, and that would be the purpose of that. You have another one. Yeah.
Bacon's Rebellion.
Bacon's Rebellion. So important about slavery and racism and slave culture. Yeah.
Like how didn't they think we made count government?
Who? Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Maine at that time, actually, what we know as Maine was actually part of Massachusetts. Yes, go ahead. Great one, right after. Yeah, the rest of you weren't great. No, all these are great. It's all about check. And they're the one who are actually writing this. Yeah. Tea Party, good. We have any ones we haven't mentioned? Anybody? Look at your list. It would have, yeah. I was going to ask that. Did you have mercantilism? Good.
Oh, we said imperialism, which
And-
is very related.
They are very much related, but the thing about it is, let's say you forgot the word mercantilism, right? Imperialism. Oh yeah, mercantilism. Somewhere in your mind you have these memories. Yeah.
Treaty of Paris.
73 and 63 would work for both of them. Very good. Because it could be a little bit after. It's stuff that happened in that era. And the thing is, if you get like 10 or 15 things on I don't mean just for a document, but like in an era, oh, you've got great material, you got stuff you can use for an essay. You haven't done your thinking for you. And it really does work, this memory, or this brainstorm. I just start remembering stuff. Because it's in there. Stuff is in there. When I'm grading the short IDs, I still got to finish some of those. I can just tell when people just forget. It's easy to forget things, isn't it? One little minor detail, we all do it. But you get a question, just kind of quick, okay, just think of a few, just get a bunch of things down. It triggers memories. It works, not just for this class, I mean for anything. That brainstorm list, historical context. So we could write, Jefferson wrote this. Jefferson wrote this because, oh, almost forgot. Did anyone put down the King's Proclamation?
I don't think so.
Nobody put that one down? They would put down the British fleeing Boston, the siege of Boston. Got that one down there? Good.
What about English law or British law?
That was the Proclamation Act, so good. That would fit in there. So, you write this, for using historical context. Jefferson, it makes sense that Jefferson holds this position. It makes sense that Jefferson holds this position because the 13 colonies are about ready to declare independence and are looking for justification. Audience. Now let's go to the next one. I think historical content's the easiest one of these four, to me personally. Audience, I don't think, audience is a little bit more difficult. Because you've got to use one of these four. Historical contents, I think a really good one. Audience, a little bit more difficult. But who is Jefferson speaking to? When he writes, first off, he's obviously speaking to Adams and Franklin. He's trying to convince Sherman and Livingston, those four guys. But who is he speaking to?
Partially speaking to the future generations.
Undoubtedly. He's speaking to because he wants to show why this country was created. And he's also thinking, it might not last, we better have proof.
They also be like sending a message to.
Yeah, he's saying to King George, and also to the Whigs in Britain that don't like King George's policy. Britain's divided over this. What country is he speaking to? Another country. Yeah. France. Looking for allies. And also, what kind of people in the colonies is he speaking to? The Patriots are already on his side. Yeah.
I just said like the colonists who don't have enough to join, they don't have enough evidence to join the cause, and they're going to fund the Friends. And those are, that was the greatest population of colonists were the ones that weren't either Tories or Whigs. So I think he's trying to convince some people to join.
Those undecided, which, by the way, what are we having tonight? They say it might be one of the most widely watched shows or television events in American history. Good. Yeah, presidential debate. Who's running?
Are we voting again? We're voting like.
I'm voting November
We are.
18,
Yeah, but when are people?
first Tuesday in November.
Oh, boy.
So, and hey, I'm a person, I have decided who I'm voting for years ago, and I'm still, every year, I vote for James Garfield. He was elected back in 1880, then was assassinated by Charles Guiteau, but I think he's coming back. So I've already made up my mind.
You know they're just keeping.
But this debate, what they're trying to do is, they're not talking to their supporters. Well, a little bit to say, oh, we might win, so go vote. But they're talking to those undecided. So it's almost the same thing. Yeah, this debate, they're talking to an audience of over 100 million estimate. I don't know if we'll quite get that, because this is America. And we're notorious for not knowing what's going on. But it should be interesting. It should be entertaining.
Oh, man. Reminds me of this one. Reminds me of this episode of South Park where Canadian Donald Trump built a wall around Canada to keep the Americans out. And then this one guy who was.
I hope the Americans paid for it.
So yeah. It was so funny.
So, but it's the same. Remember what I told you about the Declaration of Independence. It's a political document. So I'm really glad you said it, because he's speaking to those people who are undecided. Now, point of view. Okay, what is Jefferson? He's a what? First off, what's that philosophy to try to come up with natural laws for how society works? Yeah. So he's an enlightened individual. What else is he? He's what is he? How does he make a living? He's a slaveholder and plantation owner. He is, what's his religion? He doesn't really have a religion. He's a what? He's a deist. But most importantly, he's a what? Patriot. He's a patriot. And that's the key thing. Jefferson would write this to blame the king because he's a patriot. He wants to encourage independence. That is his point of view. Lastly, purpose. Purpose is the easiest one besides historical content. It might be the easiest. Why? What's he trying to do with this? Okay, if you look at this document I gave you on purpose, you notice that list I did in very small font so I could get it all on this page? But you're young and spry, right?
Yeah.
Sure. So you're nobody, is anyone farsighted yet? It will happen to everybody. So where you can't see things close. It's kind of happening to me now, and I'm not happy about it. But it's when you get old. All that list of terms, those are those are words or phrases that you would use to try to show what he's doing. So he's persuading, apologizing, opposing. You get that? That's all those words that show purpose. And the bottom of the second column, This is justifying. Jefferson is justifying trying to declare independence by blaming the king for slavery, which is hilarious. But that's what he's doing. He's also trying to connect the king to slavery. He's trying to promote the idea that the king wants slavery. But the idea is on purpose, why they wrote it. To me, historical context and purpose are the two easiest ones. And we have to do that for every document. Wouldn't it be awesome to have an assignment where we do this?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Wait, what?
I love your enthusiasm. So, go to page, okay, you have numbers on the bottom, my scrawled number 1, go to scrawled number 5. Does everyone see scrawled number 5? And you see here at the bottom of the series real quick, it says the tree of liberty must be refreshed. Now, you notice I picked something similar about this one? What's similar? What's that? Yeah, but it's another Jefferson document. This is about Shays' rebellion. And so what I want you to do is read this, and on a separate sheet, just give me a couple examples of historical context. Just write down a couple things going on. Just one sentence telling me the audience, one sentence telling me the purpose, and one sentence point of view. And we already kind of have this point of view. And that will be due on, what do you want to do? Give me a day.
Tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Let's do it on Wednesday.
1783.
If we do it on Wednesday, okay?
1783.
Lastly, it's a good little assignment. It's a little bit longer document, but you know what? You just kind of don't even really do it. The best case scenario is when you do that, when you basically think of these 4 things while you read it and don't really think, notice you're doing it.
We want to choose top.
You want to do the tree of liberty. So, the bottom one. The other one's about Shays' rebellion. It's an interesting article. I put it in there, but I really want the tree of liberty. Next, one more thing. Now, I do not believe in teaching to the test. I think that is bad teaching. But the College Board has divided thinking into 9 little methods, 9 skills, which I think is folly. I think it's folly. We do not think in that. I'm now going to think of periodization. What? We don't think that way. But they have terms they use, and we just got to know the terms. So I'm going to quiz you on the back of this next Monday. Now it's going to be an easy little matching quiz. So you just want historical causation, which is just cause and effect. They're almost all like the continuity of change in time. It's very similar to comparison and contrast, but so we just got to know what these terms mean. It's going to be a matching quiz, just 9 things. Next Monday, I just want to. So if I mention that, that's what they're really focused on. We recognize the term, and for a few of you, it should be very easy because it's exactly the same quiz you guys have on. Yeah, I know. So for you guys, got a little. But we got to do it just to get.
So can we just turn in our test that we did last year?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, you got to prove it again. I know you want to prove it. All right, let's go take your notes out and have one more thing in notes, and then we'll go and I'll let you go. By the way, I am going to watch the debate. Actually, I think I'm going to listen to it.
Like on the radio?
Yeah, podcast. I'm going to listen. I'm going to stream
Yeah,
it.
so we're going to watch Dinosaurs versus Newport.
I don't know what that's
I've been doing this a long time. Yeah, I just know it. It was fun. All right, everybody write down new heading for this unit, the founding of the Republic. So we had independence, now founding of the Republic. It's right here, founding of the Republic. And the first form of government was the Articles of Confederation. And what type of central government did the Articles of Confederation want? It was their wartime experience. What type of central government? Very weak. A weak central government. I told you this. I just kind of introduced it. But this did not become the government until going into 1784. Because the war just ended. And this would be the government for about 5 years. And in that time, the country about fell apart. Because remember, we have 13 separate and bickering colonies that couldn't get together until the Stamp Act. The war is over, and now woo, they're all over the place again. So, let's start with the Articles government. And what it had was, it's a Congress. You see it called the Articles of Confederation. You have the Confederation Congress. Sometimes it would be called the Confederacy. People are kind of reluctant to call it a Confederacy because of that whole Civil War thing. It's, the Confederate States of America. But that's what it was. And every state had one vote. So there were 13 votes total. It's actually really funny. So like when the Confederation Congress started in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania sent like 250 people to the Congress to shout down everybody else. But they only had one vote. Georgia sent one person. But they had the same number of votes. So every state has one vote. But how the states choose who that vote is up to the states themselves. So don't think in terms of a member of the House or a member of the Senate. We have a legacy of that goes back to the Constitution. There are 2 houses in Congress. This was one called a unicameral. 2. And one of the 2 houses in Congress has the equal number of representatives per state. Which part of the Congress has equal per state? Today, the Senate. How many per state? 2. So how many senators total? 100. Math is fun. Who's Montana's senators? Which are incredibly important. I mean, Montana, no one lives here. Yet we have as many senators as California. We are way overrepresented per person.
That's fine.
Really?
Yes.
So or like
We'll
Alabama,
probably be
Wyoming, Alaska. Who's our senators? Don't take it personally. Who are our senators? Who? Someone said, yeah. John Tester is one. What party? Democrat. No, this is pre-party when this is going on. Who's our other senator? State of Montana.
I want to say Governor Bullock, but I think I'm wrong.
Because he's a governor.
Yeah, that's why. He's the only person I can think of.
Now here's the thing. And this is an issue. And I'm going to be a little... There is a presidential debate. But Congress is the one who makes the laws. The president enforces and interprets them. It's really hard to know what's going on in the debate and what they're talking about if you don't know who the senators are from your own state. I'm giving you a little bit of a bad time, but I'm also saying it's time to know these things now. It's time to know. And there's far too many people that don't. And yeah, they have as many votes as you do. Oh, I'm just looking at you. You probably heard the name Steve Daines. He's a Republican. The House of Representatives is by population. We have 1. California has 55. Who's our 1 member of the House? Ryan Zinke. He's a Republican. So, but here's the last thing I want to get to today. To pass a law on the Articles, you need 9 votes. You need 9 states.
So more than that.
Yeah, a super majority. Think about it for a second. Will any laws pass? Nothing's going to pass. And that was the plan. They didn't want anything to pass. Thomas Jefferson proposed, and it actually went to a vote, that all this area that the United States got in the Treaty of Paris of 1783 would not have slave codes, meaning no slavery. Thomas Jefferson proposed that because he didn't want slavery to expand. He wanted to keep Islam, but not anybody else. Anybody went against the vote? 8-4, 5 against. We might have a totally different history if that would have passed. You want to guess which states? Shall we start? Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland. Nothing passed. And the last thing, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Did I get chapter 6 to everybody? So we're good on that? All right, good. Have a great day. I do recommend watching the debate, but I have no idea. I've never seen anything like this.
This year is awesome.
I've never seen an election like this.
They're still on.
It's over Niagara Falls and if you live in Canada.
Yeah, way big war.
Right?
Yeah.
Only like one person there to kill you. But you can see that, I mean, that's the Canadian dollar.
And you will need a sheet of paper for the short IDs.
I don't have to speak to them.
And I can be. After two of this, and I included one more. All these deal with the Declaration of Independence. And then I gave one more choice. This final strategy for the war. So choose three of those. Sound good?
Yeah, and then,
Excuse me.
no notes, right?
No, no,
Okay, not even sheet. Okay.
no. Sheet of paper, blank. You can have lines on it. I know. Clear out, people. Hole's got to get past.
Was that right here? Oh my god.
You look mad.
I am.
The Tet holiday. Don't break stuff.
Can I finish taking my